words here. She's so nice. Nice lady. So your G12 mount, you're resetting it up?
Yeah, so I let me see. Got it. Yeah, here. So yeah, I had converted it a couple of years ago from a solid tube to a collapsible, and I did it with some carbon fiber that I got from the company.
Cool.
And they came with connectors that had so carbon fiber is hard to work with, so you have to drill holes, and it's all you have to watch out before you cut yourself and all that kind of stuff. And they have connectors to make that easier, and they came with very small screws that I always just use those little screws. So I had 6 screws that I had to put in the poles to change the position, which was a bit much. And also it was a bit bulky. So I thought, I can do this simpler. I'm going to go to the store, get some square aluminum tubes, and just attach it straight to the tube instead of in a wooden frame and all that. So, and that's what I did, and it's I like it much better. I also shortened the whole thing, so the tube. Actually, I used the spare piece of tube that I cut out last time I converted it. I still had that, and I could make it a little smaller. Because the thing was also off balance because I hadn't accounted for the weight that I cut out, so that makes it off balance. And the Z12 does have adjustable bearings, so I could adjust it to some extent, but it was not quite right. So anyway, because of the balance problem, I could actually make it shorter, and I ended up cutting 2 inches off the base as well. So altogether, quite a bit of work. But see, I like the Z12 base. I don't know if you know the Z12, but it's got
no, don't.
like a lazy Susan type of base, and it's super smooth. Some people don't like it, but I do, because it's very, if you want to move around, it's very smooth. And it also has very nice altitude bearings. So I wanted to retain those parts, and I succeeded in all that. So I have some pictures that I could share, but let me just see if I can log on my PC.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Where's your email?
I'm trying to imagine how you adapted. Was it square aluminum tubing, or you said?
Yeah, just square aluminum tubing. Oh, here's an email. Let's see here. Yeah.
You called it a Z12, a Z, right? As in Zoomel, or?
Yeah, Zoomel.
Okay.
Yeah, they were competing with Apertura at the time, and so that was a great deal. A 12-inch Dobsonian I could get it for like $630, and I didn't need one because I had a 10-inch Coulter Odyssey, which was an oldie. But $630 is just too cheap. And it came with a laser pointer, with a RACI finder, with all kinds of stuff, and very good specifications. So okay.
I bought the was it Skywatcher 12-inch that had the collapsible tube. So it shortens down.
Yeah.
Which is handy for getting it in the car.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one that I should have bought. And so I did all this work to get where you are now, and probably not even there. So, but anyway, it keeps me busy.
That's all right. Yeah, I got to admit your other version here.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat that 2 computers, one for pictures and one for you. Yeah.
Yeah, this Android Galaxy tab is just really good for video conferencing, and but I have all my stuff on the PC. So let me see. Yeah. Okay. Join with. Just continue.
That's right. Your Galaxy. You say it's a Galaxy tablet.
Yeah.
That's why you're not HD. You're not the normal 16:9 size there.
All right. So let me see here. Um, I'm not the normal. Yeah, that's a very small webcam, I guess. I mean, the only times I've used it is for this, I think, because it looks rather unfamiliar to me. It's an old laptop, 11 years
Oh,
old.
it's a laptop. Okay.
Or
It's
10
not
years old.
I thought you might have said a tablet. Okay.
Well, my video conferencing is on the tablet. Yeah, sorry. Maybe. Sorry, I was doing two things at the same time. Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying.
No worries.
And now everything's dark. I'm not seeing anything. So what's happening
Very
here?
dark.
Oh, okay. Oh, this is a stupid Windows program. They have this photos thing. It takes forever to load photos. I'm sitting here just for like 30 seconds until the first one comes up.
Well, do you have a solid state drive on this laptop?
I have just a regular old-fashioned 500 gigabyte hard disk.
Got to go solid state.
Yeah. I know. Okay. Well, there it is.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty simple. Yeah. So you see this square rods,
Right.
right?
Right.
Can I just even enlarge that here? Okay. Now. Okay. I think I just got rid of the. Well, anyway, let me just flip through it. So well, the rear view. So yeah, the base has become a little shorter, 2 inches shorter. So I should be able to get it in the car now.
So you're saying the carbon fiber was not working out very well, or you just?
It was too bulky because in order to because they are round posts, which makes it harder to work with. So I had to make a wooden frame. So I had made these wooden rings at the top and at the bottom, and that in itself was quite a chore. And you stick those. There are holes in there, so the holes are just, let's say, 1 centimeter away from the actual tube, so they stick out a little bit, quite altogether an inch wider than this here, at least an inch on both, and that's on both sides effectively, right? So
So don't you need a skirt when you work? Do you have a skirt to go around the tube, or?
I'm not really an advanced visual observer, so it doesn't bother me to have it like this. So yeah,
Well, I know
maybe
when I'm in a over to, we'll say, even the Bacara, and the parking lot lights, they come in the top, and they cut across, and I have a shield that covers one half of the top side. Besides having a skirt on the Skywatchers, also there's a plastic shield you put up at the top to avoid some reflections that come in from lights.
yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah. Well, I don't have one, but maybe I should get one. If so, I do visual observing maybe once a year, sometimes once every 2 years. But maybe I'll do it more frequently now because it's just easier to haul it out, I think. So anyway, this thing works.
Is this the one you put on that tracking box?
Yeah, no, that was the Coulter Odyssey, and I gave that one away. I do have an equatorial platform, a regular equatorial platform for this one. So I can track in an equatorial way, and it's also actually dual axis. And I was working on all that stuff, and then all of a sudden I won this APO, this 127 millimeter APO, as a door prize at the RTMC, and then it was all over. So maybe someday I'll get an equatorial platform working again, and put an autoguider on there and do astrophotography with it. But that would be only to show a point, to make a point. nothing else, because I have a 12-inch newt on my G11, right? So there's no point. But anyway, this thing is now working okay for me. So I was a little bit afraid of vibrations because I attached the aluminum straight to the tube, and the tube is flexible, right? Somewhat. But if you have 6 of these attachments, six attachments. So there are, by the way, there are 2 screws at the top, and I tightened them quite a bit. I tightened them quite a bit because what I noticed when I was collimating is, as I moved the Z12 down, I saw the laser dot move on the primary mirror, and I thought, okay, well, maybe this thing is just too flexible. Maybe it didn't work. but I tested a bit more, and I could grab it by the trusses and move it around, and the dot didn't move much. So I think it is caused by the vanes. That's the thing that really. So it can move in three ways. Well, it cannot move in two ways, in the perpendicular to the optical axis.
What you really need to do is counterweight the diagonal with another weight extended out. I mean,
Maybe
and
so.
nobody does that
Okay.
because
That might be, maybe that's what I need. That's not a bad idea. So what I noticed is that so the rotation around the optical axis, that's the weak point. And I could, with very little force, I could make the laser dot move. And amazingly, it got better after I tightened the secondary screws, and I don't have an explanation for that yet. So, I mean, the flexibility that I'm talking about is in the vanes, and the tightness of the secondary screws should have nothing to do with it. So I'm not quite sure exactly, but by tightening those screws, it got better. And I'm not sure why, but anyway, the problem is fixed low
because
enough.
you got torsional twisting as you move it. You got the other one, but this one, you know, as you move it up and down, with the diagonal, it's going to give a slight difference in the torquing of that. That's and the thing is that I've yet to do it to my own, but really a counterweight would really zero out all that torque, you know, the movement.
Yeah. It has to do that. It must be because of some imbalance, because, you know, as I said, I noticed it when I moved the Z12 down.
Well, your mirror's on a cantilever when you think about it.
Right. And that is an imbalance, absolutely. So
yeah,
I'm convinced that it's related to that. I had never noticed this in the past because, you know, that part has not changed. So maybe I just didn't test well enough, but I always collimated with the tube flat down, basically, for safety reasons, right? And when I went to the Grand Canyon, there was this guy with a 22-inch newt, and he collimated it lying on the ground with the tube looking straight up. And I wasn't quite sure why he did that. And I'm not sure if I asked him, but maybe that's for the same reason. Maybe it's because when he moves that thing down, there's also some sort of torque. I'll send him an email about that, see if that was the reason.
Well, I do know that, you know, like Mel Bartels, he doesn't use a vane. A lot of times he just uses wire, which crisscrosses several different ways, and he never complains about it. And his telescopes are like f2.5, and
wow,
it doesn't take much to get things out of alignment. So how was the trip? I missed last week the dark side. Did it go well for you?
You mean my trip to the Sierras that I was planning?
Yeah.
That did not happen because the temperatures were just dangerously high at that point in time, especially in the valley. Now, at altitude, it wasn't as bad, but the other problem was that there was danger of risk of dry thunder and also wet thunder and in other places. So it was just one big mess. In Bishop, they were threatening wet thunder, and in Horseshoe Meadows, dry thunder. So you can get killed either way. So because of these weather problems, we decided not to go there this time and go to Big Sur instead. And that was fun. We did the Salmon Creek hike, which is a 15-mile hike. It goes up to the ridge from where you can see Paso Robles in the distance, so at the top, and then back down to the ocean again. It was a pretty long hike, so it was fun. Yeah, we just spent camping at San Simeon. There's a campground over there.
Oh,
not too far from Hearst Castle.
Was the weather clear?
The weather was great. There were two questions. Sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, that was last weekend or the weekend?
That was last week, actually. Yeah, we went.
I was in the same area. I was in Paso Robles.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So everything worked out fine. My son is back on his way to MIT now. He'll be back in August again for a quick trip.
What did you do at MIT?
Mechanical engineering. Yeah, so he's working on a milk testing project, so testing to make sure that it doesn't get sour. So he's building some electronic device that's meant for manufacturers and people, big containers of milk, and to make it easier to keep track of it instead of having to take samples. He's not too crazy about that project, and he wants to go into carbon sequestration. So that's what he's pushing for. He wrote a proposal for that, and hopefully he can do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. He wants to go into what?
Carbon sequestration. So
Oh,
I think it's a project for boats. They use they can use the seawater over there to recycle some of the CO2 that they're producing, or not recycle, but somehow chemically process it and dump it in the ocean for a long time.
Carbon capture. Yeah.
Carbon capture, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So is he getting to the point where he's helping you with technical stuff, or are you still helping him with technical stuff?
Well, I'm not advanced enough. I just do things manually as much as I can, for the same reason that I don't like computers too much with my scopes. And although unfortunately you have to. Yeah, so he likes to make CAD drawings with one of these crazy CAD packages and beautiful designs and so on, and yeah, very detailed stuff. So nothing like this. But yeah, he's interested in how all this stuff works because with the G11 I had some problems, and I showed it to him, and yeah, he's always lending an ear, which is nice.
It's
mostly psychologically.
let me show you this telescope I have here. If I
Well, yeah, please.
How do I do that? I got to click on share. This is going to stop yours.
Yeah, I've been watching at this. I've been seeing the Skywatcher later on, and that's the one that I should have bought.
Yeah, it's just this one here.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I mean, I tighten things down pretty well, and I'm pretty. It does pretty well without me having to collimate each time.
Right.
I'm pretty surprised. Just the 3 tubes collapsing, and it does pretty well.
Is that just plastic with aluminum?
The aluminum. Well, I'm not sure. It might be steel bodies. It's steel. This is steel.
Yeah, but the tubes, the trusses.
Oh, the trusses. A good question. I don't know if they're aluminum or steel. I haven't put a magnet on them. It's a good question. Only thing I know, I wanted to set up my cell phone with the indirect. What do you call that? Where you go to on the cell phone, there's a program, and you can use it to indirectly, just mount it on the side of your telescope, and you can do a go to that way with your Dob. But for some reason, there's interference from the metal. You just got to get too close to the metal, and then it doesn't work. So you can't. The GPS doesn't work when it's too close to a sheet of metal, evidently.
Right. Yeah.
Could be the magnetic compass inside the
cell phone.
Yeah, they all have compasses now.
Yeah, I assume that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a little boost cell phone, and I tried that with my Z12 when it was still a solid tube, and I had to stay 2 or 3 feet away from it, and otherwise I would get deviations because it's all steel.
Too sensitive.
Speaking about programs, on my iPhone, I got an update to the latest iPhone. And what happened was my $30 Sky program stopped working. I get the message. It basically says your software vendor needs to fix the problem that we generated. Sky Safari Pro Sky Safari Pro needs to be updated. This app needs to be updated to work on this version of iOS.
And they want to charge you for it?
Hold a second. This is a new message. Guess what? I might have just fixed it in front of you guys. Before it said your vendor needs to be updated. So maybe a lot of people started screaming at him.
Yeah. You say you paid $30 for that app, huh? Well, you
Yeah,
got the Pro app.
$36.
I
Yeah,
I, I, pro I probably don't have the Pro app.
and with this, theoretically, you should be able to use this as a digital setting circle, except for one thing. It wants to, uh, you know, do you wanted it wants you to do this, that type of thing. Whereas really you want to do this so that you can look at it and not have to look up at it as you're zooming, Uh, I think I got to go right to him to tell him to do that, because
I,
when
I,
when you got it on your telescope and you're doing this and move it around that way, you can see it. Whereas when you got like that and you're looking up that way, it's well, for my old neck, it's not so easy.
I have an app on my phone. It's called Sky Eye, and it does indirect go-toing thing, and you should be able to mount it close to the scope. I mean, if it wasn't for the interference, I was thinking about making a 6-inch mount away from the scope, but it's really great. You could just lay it, and it would be nice to have it so it faces you too. And then you could just you go to, I don't know how many stars you need to set it up with, just one or two, I can't remember, but that's really handy if you could make it work. But yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to have to look at the face from a weird angle. You'd think they would compensate for you they'd let you know, they'd know that you're tilting at whatever angle compared to where the star is.
Yeah, well, maybe I guess getting a mirror would help, but that adds to complexity,
Yeah.
kludge upon kludge,
Yeah.
Uh, so Hank, how's the stepper motor thing on your G11? You got all the things fixed on it working finally? You modified the worm mechanism for spring loaded.
Yeah, well, I haven't done super much because, well, okay, the moon was out and my son came to visit, so all that together, I didn't do a whole lot. I did, did it once. So I checked my spring-loaded worms again, did some testing there, and wasn't quite perfect. And then a couple nights ago, I took it out, but that was the first time after I came back from Grand Canyon, and no matter what I did, the plate solver told me it was off. And then after looking, I said, okay, well, it turned out there's the tripod and the mount that you have to put on it, and you have to give it a quick twist. And I thought I had done that, or maybe I twisted it back, but that was the deviation. So at least the plate solving worked. And I also told it that I was still in Nevada, sorry, in the Grand Canyon somewhere. But anyway, after that, everything was fine. But then it was too late to just do much. I did get the everything working and so on, and I got the guiding working, and I did find there was some bumps and it was periodic. It was it is known that there could be a 76-second bump, and maybe that was the one. I'm not sure how to explain that. I did notice that when you clamp those two blocks together, so they have to be tight so you can clamp those bearings towards each other, right? And then if you do that right and they're all oriented in the same direction, then you should not have that 76-second periodic. But I did find out that it was actually loose, and I wonder if that's caused by the temperature differential between being at the Grand Canyon and here. But it was looser than I thought that could happen by thermal expansion or contraction. I'm not quite sure exactly.
You haven't tried any of the Belleville washer things or any of that other.
But what I'm trying to say is that you have to set these bearings in a certain way, and you have to screw them tight. And I wonder if the temperature changes, that perhaps these bearings get too much friction and that's causing something. I don't know. Sorry, what were you saying?
Sometimes they put the Bellevue washers. They're like sort of like domed to push against the bearing so that you get proper loading.
Right, and I looked at that. So what this guy who invented that told to do is you have to first get the bearing out. Well, you can pull that out with a piece of metal, whatever. It's kind of ugly. Maybe heat will work better. But then you have to sand down the bearing so
Yes.
that it can roll around when you put it back. So it has to have enough space. And then you can put the Belleville washer behind that so it presses against the bearing. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that might be a thing to do, but I'm not ready for that yet. I do have a whole box of Belleville washers. Meanwhile, I use it for something else. What I have now is basically the equivalent of what Las Mandy sells professionally. I mean, they sell it so you can send your mount back if it doesn't have the spring-loaded worms. So it is that same idea. You configure the blocks on that cover. You screw it into the cover, so those two blocks are in the right position. You don't have the 76 period, and then it's just a you use the hole closest to the motor as the pivot point. That one has a special ring inside it, so there's no play or very little play at least. And then the other one can move free. So both of them are free basically. To make sure that it doesn't wobble, I did apply a Belleville washer at the bottom, and you can't turn that too tight because then it causes too much friction. And yeah. Oh man, all that stuff. Maybe I should just go and get an astrophysics mount. This is kind of ridiculous, but yeah. Oh well, it'll keep me busy.
Yeah, I've been fighting with the Misu mount again. All of a sudden, it stopped tracking properly, and the pointing was off, and so uh, I finally wound up making a 75 point model with the SciTech software, and I got down to about a 1 or 2 arc minutes of pointing error. And the next night I go out to use it, it's off. So I got to figure out what's causing it to not be very reliable as far as pointing.
How do you know it is off? Is it what kind of software do you use to test the polar alignment?
Well, first of all, the SciTech has quite a few tools. It has a thing where I can show you. Can I share the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just do something here.
Yeah, I'd like to see the mount because it's a pretty special mount, right? I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
expensive.
It when it works great. It's getting like 4-minute subs perfectly tracked. Let me go and bring up the software. And let's see here.
So Mike, do you use any auto guiding?
Yeah, I use the ZWO 178 now. It's my planetary camera that's very, very accurate. Let's see here. So I'm going to.
Just to let you know, Jerry Wilson was feeling poorly, so he wasn't going to be here tonight, and Tim Craig is not expected to show up either because he's tired from not getting sleep or something.
Okay, probably fighting, working on his guitar. Okay, I don't know which ones you're actually able to see. Okay, I've got 3 screens up here. I've got this one here where it shows a bunch of.
We're seeing that one. We're seeing that screen.
Okay, so that's got different things. The top part here is sort of like your pad, and you click on here. Now you're in guiding, and this calls up the PXP point, which I'll show you. This one brings up the sky view, which I'll show you. So
I can't remember. How do you spell SciTech?
S, big S, little I, big T, E, C, H.
Okay.
Okay. So let me do stop share, do a share.
If you share your desktop, that's the easiest.
Oh, okay.
That's the choice to the upper left. That's the one I think that's usually the
Okay.
screen.
Okay.
It says screen.
Okay. Can you see everything?
Everything, yes.
Okay, okay. So in a way it's pretty complete because like this here is the sky view, and you can just zoom in, and this shows all the different objects. This is what they have at the telescope, I believe, both at the little kick and the one at the museum. They use the software. It's very
Mm.
capable. When you track on a comet, like on here, click on this one, and and click on it and use that. It'll actually go at the comet's rate. It automatically puts in the differential, so you can get really good pictures.
So if you wanted to track the space station, could you do that here?
Theoretically, you could.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. So this is what I was talking about, where um, that I was doing the other night, the point XP. So it says that my average is about 1.43 arc minutes, and basically I got a bunch of anomalous points, as you can see here. This one really made it bad, and this one, and I think it was probably operator error, but you can should be able to zoom in on this, but I don't know how.
So
So
Mike, can I ask you a question? Your mount, is your mount bolted down to the concrete slab,
no,
and you're walking on the plywood, and your mount's mounted on the plywood there?
no, the mount is the plywood basically.
I see your dome behind you with the plywood underneath it.
Yes, okay. The okay. Let me explain this, and I'll show you what my mount's all about. Okay, so I can call up my aerographs, and you can see here where the blue dots are the ones that are anomalous.
Sorry. How is this? Is this a guide aerograph or is this a pointing aerograph? What?
Pointing.
And how does
Point.
it evaluate the pointings? Do you say like you go to something, you say sync, and then it makes a correction, and it has
Yeah,
finds where it has to go?
I can do
Okay.
here. Let's say I go to this star here. Mine's okay. So I can do a click on it, and do a sync, and then now, okay, just do a stop here.
Okay,
Okay,
but so you think that that is due to your polar alignment error, or I mean, that's not necessarily true, right? I mean, it could just be a pointing error, but we don't know if it's because of the polar.
well, it could be one of several things. It could be flexure of the mount, flexure of the tripod, um, and I could have hit the mount or whatever. But this is what you use. The simple offset is basically moving the sky to be where the scope's pointing, and the load cal stars are the ones that are used to generate the model. Okay, and I'll do a cancel. Going back to here, you go to the mount model. So what you wind up with is, with enough points, you start filling this graph where it it starts modeling everything. And so you can see here the axis misalignment with these points that I chose is 2 arc minutes off to the north and 29 arc seconds,
Hmm.
which I think is pretty good. Tell me if I need to be more accurate, though. I thought that was.
Yeah, if it's more than 2, then it's not great. But actually, for a meso mount, if the mount, if the P were solid, you should be able to get below 1, and it should stay there.
Yeah, I know. So it could be that I need to beef up the pier. It, that might be it. Um, But there's other things on this software. This we would hardly ever use. It just talks about some of the errors and stuff like that, the features. You do a run script. Okay, okay.
Mm.
So on this one here allows you to do plate solve.
Ah,
Okay, so plate solve actually works pretty good for the most part, although that a couple last week I tried using it and it didn't do it. It wasn't working for some reason, and so I have to figure that out. But anyways, what you do is you wind up making a script that automatically slews it. And in my case, I use AstroArt for taking the picture. But I have a feeling I set a switch somewhere where it's using the AstroArt plate solve instead of Rose, um, uh, the one with SciTech, which is very robust. As a matter of fact, you don't even need to put in the initial place to take a look at. It's on many objects, it's just picked it out of the blue. And we're talking about, like where a galaxy is and, 11-inch f10, not very, 18 by 20 arc minutes, and it finds it. It's blind. It's what they call blind solve. So here's this menu here. I can go call up my Messier, you know, to slew there, NGC and ICs and
So
other.
Mike, are you saying that you could set up a script that would just show, go to stars that you want to use as your plate solving stars, and it would go to
Yeah,
each one?
yeah. Actually, what I should be able to do if I wanted to do, let's say, um, uh, do photometry is go to different stars, take a picture and do that. But I've yet to get get things working properly. I just there's something not clicking with me. So here's the configuration that you use. The scope, general scope info, which describes the aperture, focal length, and latitude, longitude. Mount parameters. In my case, I'm a gem. See, this system is supposed to be able to be used with an azimuth or an altitude, or in this case, equatorial could be uh, a, uh, a fork mount. Okay, and so this one here allows you to use set up your encoders for tracking. Uh, this one here has to do with various things like disabling certain things that the program will do, mutate, aberrate, refraction. You can turn that on and off. So it does compensate for that. Camera stuff is this here is used for the plate solving. So I would click on AstroArt or Maxim DL or Nebulosity, which seems to be broken now. It doesn't use. So,
It sounds
yeah,
very frustrating, Mike. Sounds like a lot
it's
of little
been,
problems.
I've had problem after problem. Horizon file is where you, this is your horizon, so that you don't slew the places where there's a tree or your house. Okay. And this one here is just to log things so that if things don't go right, you can say, well, what the heck, what I was doing. And this is actually new. It's precess calculator. So, anyways, that's sort of like a tour of it. Let me,
so Is this a specialty tool for the Meizu mount, or is it just a general purpose?
SciTech out. It was designed for out as Dobsonian drives. People adding drives to the Dobsonians like yours. They sell a kit with stepper motors and
Okay.
gearing and stuff like that. And Misu decided, well, hey, it's a pretty good system. And you got to remember that some of the major brands use this. What's the one with the Dow Cook and the CBKs? They use this program.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So if let me see if I can find pictures on my choose where my pictures are. I've got some. I know I've got some for my mount.
So how would you said you were also playing with the Raspberry Pi, right? I mean, how would that fit in with your SciTech and the Meizu mount? Is it, do you want to control it?
Actually, it'll actually control the Misu. I had that. I was doing that.
Okay.
I hadn't. I
But
hadn't. Had everything controlled, but yeah. And I'm gonna go try that because
so can you control the Meizu without SciTag? Does it have a low level type of protocol that you can
no,
use?
it is completely stupid. It's the controller on there only looks at the servo ticks and other things. Let me see if I can find the uh, it doesn't look like I can easily find it.
Mike,
Yeah,
how do you spell Misu?
MESU.
MESU. Okay.
Here, hold a second. Let me just bring it up. No, wait a second.
Yeah, the frustrating thing with a lot of this software is that there's no good separation between low level and high level, and so everybody ends up duplicating everything everywhere. So we've got SGP, we've got SciTech, we've got ECOS, we've got all this stuff,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
like it when you've got something like ECOS, it can control a whole bunch of mounts. So it really, the idea is you
Well,
provide a low
SciTech.
level controller
Yeah.
for that, and then so things like what SciTech does, it has all the high level stuff like plate solving and scheduling and all this kind of stuff as well, and it can control other programs, but it's honestly it's a bit of a mess. I think
Yeah.
not just SciTech, but a lot of the code
Yeah.
programs here. And everybody
Okay.
uses different things as a result. It would be nice if we could just standardize on something. So
Well, that's what ASCOM was all about, and that's not entirely perfect. Okay, but here's the Misu right here. Okay, so I think the weak point of this mount is the azimuth adjustment and this adjustment. Because there's a little swap between these two. It's sort of like push one way, push the other way, and so there's a little bit of swap in between, and that could be part of it. There's this big disc here, as you can see, there are a bunch of holes here. This rod goes up and basically moves this up and down, and then you have a lock over here. The problem is that this assembly just rides on a groove on both sides. And if it's not exactly all the way over with the way it should be, because it tends to work its way, as you tighten that thing there, it'll flex things. You can actually change the pointing of the mount. So uh,
the, the AS control, can you lock the AS control? You said you can move it, but is there a good lock? So
No, it's just, mechanical. I'm trying to find a
Yeah.
place where I could
No,
show
sure.
a better picture. Hold a second. Let me click on here. Hold a second. Okay. Oops. Okay,
Right.
so right here, okay, there's a knob on the other side, a big knob. He likes big knobs here. And so that presses against this disc, and this part is sort of like welded part of this here. I mean, this is all solid aluminum, okay? So it presses against here. So if this disc is just a little distance away, then what happens is starts putting torque on this point here, and it just rests in a groove.
Mm.
Okay, so I think what I'm going to have to do is take everything off, loosen this up, and just shove this all the way over so it's just rubbing against here.
Okay.
Um, the other thing too is this is too coarse for uh, my liking. You really have to torque on these. You have to have a really great grip, or you can't move it. This is not so bad, but then again, this here, okay, it's like an eyelet bolt, and there's a screw that goes through here,
That's
and
the
so
F-lock.
yeah, that's the ASLOck, and there's a little bit of slop in there.
Uh-huh.
Um, so what I'm thinking about doing is coming up with some sort of clamp that'll clamp this down. Once I got it to where I want it to be, clamp it down on this base.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, so um, the only other thing that I wish this motor here, the motor that I have has magnetic encoders, and he tried that for a while. These are optical encoders. These work a lot better than the other ones, and in some cases, he was because people bought this in Europe because he's in Europe. He would actually go there and change the motor out and for free. And um, I bought my mount at the same time. Another guy in Britain talked about it and talked about Lisa coming over. And so I don't think he's going to do that for me. But he really doesn't want you touching the innards of this mount here. The This here is much more than a cover. It's the centric uh, hole in there that pushes it against the uh, gearing, which is not gearing, it's actually a disc on a disc. There's like
Great.
3 discs three friction drive discs inside here that operate this here. And so um, my deck axis actually is much stiffer than my RA, and I think that's part of my problem too. But I mean, otherwise, it's supposed to be rated for 200 pounds or something like that. And so, I don't know
200
why
pounds.
it's rated for 200 pounds.
So you could put a chair on it and just put your binoculars.
No, no, the problem is that um, it's only rated for 2 Newton meters of force on the axis. Okay, it has to be really well balanced. And the problem with the original Misu mounts is that you couldn't disengage it to get accurate balance. There's always a bunch of friction. So uh, that's that's an issue.
So what's the periodic error of this mount?
Couple arc seconds at the most.
How,
That's
how
why
much? Sorry,
a couple arc seconds.
a couple of seconds. Okay, that's very good.
Yeah, it is. And when it's working really well, um, I right now I mean, 1 minute's no big issue. With the C11, 2 minutes maximum. But I've had it before where I was I was doing up to like 4 or 5 minutes and having round stars.
Hmm.
So I'm fighting that. So, but it's it's a beast. A couple years later, well, there he is right there. Okay, on top of it, I'm not sure that you could do that. You have to be really balanced. But um, if I can get, it's the new ones break apart. And actually, the new ones are not even in this configuration. Um, this part here, I mean, see this, see this part right here.
Mhm.
Okay, okay. This part right here. Um, that's the whole mount. This and this is the whole mount. And what he does now is here it is. Here's his new mount. Come on. Okay, he's done away. Oh, okay, there it goes. Okay, the new mount is now on a wedge. Okay, so there's the wedge is adjustable and all that, and the new mount has uh, cable routing through the center of it. He's really changed it quite a bit. Okay, so it's one of those things. It's like owning a Tesla. You're going to regret buying it because next year it's going to be better. Um, but so, anyways, um, if I can get this working right, then I can uh, figure out get my next dome working, which I did get working for a bit. And oh gosh, I wish I could show you my setup. I just don't have it. Um,
Hmm.
let's see here. Do I?
I'm
Yeah.
curious what pier or tripod you have.
Oh, well, I'm trying to find it.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Well, hold a second here. What's this?
You need a secretary to organize things.
Oh, I've been it's here. I'll do a stop share. I'll let you guys do things, and then I'll find it. So, anyways, Hank, one of the things I'd like to do is borrow some code from you. Your little tracker, your barn door. You compensated for the tangent error. Is that true?
That's right, yes.
I'd like to get a hold of that because what I plan on doing is trying to get some of my members to do a tracker and have a little try and get them to do a little
Yeah.
contest.
Yeah, no, that's perfect because you can make a very simple tracker if you use the Arduino to compensate for the mechanical flaws.
Yeah, and the one thing is that my I can't wrap my mind around uh, what around the map. It's just
Yeah.
I'm just a little rusty.
That's pretty simple, but yeah. So the one downside is that you always have to start at the same position. So it has to know just because of that geometrical correction, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and how do you do that with a switch or something like that?
Oh, so what I do because right now I only have this the camera tracker. It's just a screw, and it's only a few. I use my finger to move the screw up to the bolt that's supporting it.
Uh-huh.
Or actually, it was okay. So I had this piece of rod, a threaded rod with a blob of epoxy where the motor plugs in. a very cheap motor, just a few bucks, and that's
Yeah,
how
I got those. Here, let me do a share here on this here. This is in, oh, second.
So what I do is if I start over again, I just turn the Arduino off and then turn it back on again, just an on-off switch.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing boots in no time. So
Right.
and then it starts by itself. You know,
Yeah.
there's no user interface, just on-off.
Right. Okay. Well, here's my telescope setup side by side because of the fact that inside the dome there's not much room to put another telescope on top. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And let me do a stop share and try and find the other stuff. I call it. You know, I used to have this all in hand, and of course,
Mhm.
I don't anymore. But what the thing that I built is super solid.
Mm-hmm.
This one.
Hank, have you ever seen this Tonight Sky website where you can tell where you're at, and then you tell it what magnitude you can want to go down to, or what type of objects, and it'll generate a list of objects, and you can tell it, you know, like what angle. Oh yeah, your horizon angle, whether you want to go down farther than 45 or whatever. It's pretty
Oh,
neat. It really generates a neat list of objects.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
called
I mean, so yeah.
tonightsky.com.
Okay. And that's to prepare a session, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I usually use Stellarium for that. So I mean, if
Just look at
yeah,
Stellarium, yeah. But that
yeah,
Tonight Sky, it's pretty cool. It makes a list of things, and you can
right.
organize it by magnitude or constellation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm still trying to find it. What I'll do is I will send you a bunch of pictures showing what I've done. It's basically like a 7-inch, quarter-inch pipe, uh, but I think there's a weak spot in it, and I just need to beef it up, which
Are
means I'd
you
have to take the whole thing apart.
so, Mike? Are you using a pedestal underneath your mount, or is it a
It's
tripod?
a it's a um, it's okay. Uh, it's a tube. It's a pier.
Okay, pier, pedestal, yeah, pier.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what I'm going to do is send myself a picture of it, and then I can show
And so,
you.
by the way, the problems that you had with setting the alt and as that's not uncommon. So with my G11 S, there are 4 screws, actually 4 hex bolts for the altitude that you have to tighten, and it's a bit of work. So I've tightened it loose enough so that I can use the knob and just do that. But now for the Los Mani does have a very good system. It has 2 screws that you just tighten it down and it will not move. That's very nice, actually.
Okay, well, I'm going to, okay, I found the pictures on my iPhone, so I'm going to send the,
Yeah, it's a hassle. You know, you get lots of good pictures on your cell phone, and you got to send it to your desktop and back and forth.
well, it's,
You can look it up on your desktop. You log in onto your website. I mean, the photo site for, like, I have photos.google.com because I'm an Android phone, and
yeah,
if I take a photo with my cell phone, it goes to Google is backing those things up. But
okay, well,
I on the desktop, you have to go to photos.google.com and search through dates and things. They're not organized in albums, so
okay,
it's all chronological.
give me 1 second here. Okay, just sent it. I'm just doing large, so. Okay, so basically, it's almost like the COVID scope. It's it's made out of scrap, totally out of scrap. Okay, for a second here, and find it should be coming up shortly. But basically, it was made out of it was made out of junkyard parts. The small legs were bicycle. Uh, an old bicycle holder and second sheet. Okay, now hopefully this will come. It doesn't seem like it wants to. Seem to be just keep talking, but oh, there it is. Okay, let me just go back here. Choose screen share. Okay. Okay, so this is part of the old bicycle thing, and this is like a piece of tube that's here.
Are those 3 legs, or that they bolted to the concrete?
No, they're just sitting, and this could be part of the problem.
Yeah, maybe the concrete is moving up and down.
It could be. And you know, I talked to my wife about setting this in concrete, and she says, no. So, but the
Is she a mechanical
platform,
engineer?
no, she is the boss.
Construction boss.
So what I think I can do here is this is rubber that this sets on, and probably what I need to do is cross members here and there that'll keep it more steady. And where it touches the concrete, I probably need to make that cut that off and make it a little bit more on. You know, it could be flexing for all I know.
Yeah, that's what the Losmandy mount has as well. It has flat feet, and that for a reason. So that I would recommend the Losmandy HD mount if you decide to get something.
Well, I originally had mounted this on a Losmandy tripod because I've got a G11.
Okay.
And I was using it for the longest while, but it didn't seem to be that steady with the wind. So this is what I built. I mean, this tube here weighs like about 90 pounds. So I probably just need to make this more. Probably what I need to do is bolt these legs into the concrete.
Okay.
Or possibly another thought is to come up with a concrete pedestal. In other words, cast this, put a piece of, cast this in one big block, so that, like a truncated, encase this in concrete. So it just lays on the concrete, and that should be much more stable. And so the observatory, this is all floating. This entire floor is floating at about 4 feet away from the telescope here. I did that just to make sure that when the wind hits it, it puts minimal pressure on this here.
So is there a connection there in the middle, or is that just the legs mounted against that central post?
They're mounted against the central post. So that's
okay.
And so that's the weak point. So I put the rubber there to keep it moving, but I really need a cross member, yes, on the bottom. That's probably made the weak point. And so, had this been straight, that would have been better. But, basically, basically the bicycle thing was sort of like a bunch of loops, which I cut it.
Looks like it
Yeah.
must have been a pretty heavy duty bicycle.
This is like 2-inch pipe that's uh, I think it's about 1/4 of an inch. I mean, it's really thick wall tubing. So this piece here weighs about 15 pounds.
Yeah, but it is connected with screws, and I'm not quite sure how solid that would be. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't. I have a
It's
feeling there's going to
bolted
be
in.
some flexibility there. And if you look at the portable mounts that you can find online, they always have cables running from the bottom to the top to tighten everything up and so on.
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm going to do.
that's missing here.
That-
So it's and
Yeah.
also the feet. I would just make them flat. That would be just make it solid so it can sit on a straight surface.
I'm
And
thinking
I'm not
about
sure
that.
if concrete would be good because concrete will loosen up and it will crack and whatever not. It's not going to be tight. I would use epoxy if you want to set it, tighten it to anything. I would just make epoxy putty. Just mix epoxy with wood. I've done that when I built my kayaks, and that works really, really well. So
What do you mean? Where would I put the epoxy?
well, if you wanted to put the mount in a fixed position, just put some epoxy putty around the feet if that's what you wanted to do. You said you were going to set it
Oh,
in
yeah,
concrete.
yeah,
I would not set it in concrete. I would use something else. But anyway, that's just my. I don't have experience with setting things in concrete, but it seems to me like metal and concrete doesn't bond very well.
no, it doesn't.
Metal and epoxy bonds to anything. So
Yeah, I'll try that. One of the things I was thinking about, see my buddy who did all this welding is no longer here. He went to the East Coast, so it would have been nice to weld something flat on here on each of these legs. So I'm going to have to find another buddy. Yeah, I think and so, yeah.
well,
So
what is welded? You said is that leg welded to the post, or because I see 4
no,
screws.
no. Actually, what we did was we cut off a length of this here, pounded it slightly flatter to get it against here, and then
No.
we welded each of these pieces on a piece of this
Okay.
pipe,
Yeah.
and then
That's
bolted
good.
them in.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's 4 bolts
Yeah.
on each of these legs, and
Mhm.
they're really big bolts, and so
Okay. And you put the rubber at the bottom to keep the center post in place. Is that the idea?
well there was a slight. This is slightly higher than these other legs, and so
Right. Mhm.
I thought, well, maybe part of this is the fact that this could be like a tuning fork here. So
Yes.
this is sort of like uh, this matte material here.
Mhm.
So this is this matte material over here really compressed it down, and so I figured that would dampen out any vibrations. It would
Mhm.
keep it. But I think what I really need to do is put these cross members like you were
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is so the observatory is on top of this platform, which is a frame of uh, 4x4s and 2x4s in the middle, where I've got this flooring here. So there's
What
there's no.
what about cable? Using some cables, put a hole through the tube, and you have a cable that with a tightener in the
Yeah,
middle. What do you call those tighteners?
turnbuckle.
Yeah, turnbuckle.
I could, and I want something that's really rigid, and so I was thinking of possibly using threaded rod, like 1/2 inch threaded rod, and just I certainly can uh, thread this in here. These bolts are threaded into the steel pipe because this is like 3/8 steel pipe. This pipe here is like 90 pounds.
Right,
Takes
right.
2 people to lift it, and
It does seem
so
like you like you'd want to bolt it down to the concrete, or like Hank is saying, use epoxy to the concrete, and so they cannot, those legs cannot move for any reason.
Yeah, but this could be moving here too, you know,
Yeah.
back and forth with this as a pivot point.
Yeah.
So I need to make it more rigid. It's one of those things where I wanted to get this done before rainy season, so I said, well, it's good enough, you know. So let's see, here's
Yeah.
another. Okay, there's without the thing there, so you can.
Isn't that easier to have it just like that without those pieces of 2x4 in there?
Except when you fall in, then it's dark.
No, okay,
So,
okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, so you have something like, yeah. No,
and
I would
also another
actually,
thing too is,
I would not advocate doing the epoxy thing. I think you need just a better solid base, because that's the first thing you have to do anyway. I mean, just like
yeah,
my Lost Mandy, the tripod of the HD tripod of the Lost Mandy is incredible. I mean, that was
yes,
very
it
well
is.
constructed. It's made of aluminum, and I have a feeling that it's going to be better than that. Do you have an HD tripod of Lost Mandy?
I have the original Los Mania tripod.
Is that in the LD tripod? There are two kinds, right? One is the lighter kind, but the HD tripod is yeah, the original one was actually welded, so it was not foldable. But I have one that's
I
actually
have the
foldable.
original. I have the original
So
non-folded one.
isn't that just better than this thing?
Um, kind of hard to say, but the thing is also I still have my Los Mandy mount and I do use it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. You want to keep that, okay?
and I do have the Mead, the heavy duty Mead mount, but it seemed to not be rigid enough. It uh, the you know the top part of it, you know, it's you know the circular part. There's a small rod that goes down, but it's only like a half-inch rod, and then it goes through the spreader that spreads the legs. And
Hmm.
it seemed to me that I was getting a little bit of a shifting, you know, from it. Wasn't rigid enough.
Yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
so I was going to go modify that, and then my buddies who worked for the maintenance and trilogy here said, "Hey, I got a bunch of steel. You know, I know where you can get some steel. Okay, but I can't work on it." He goes, "I got a welding thing," and you know,
Sure.
the guy was retired and he was working on mechanical things because he was bored. So uh, 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 we spent days cutting through that steel pipe with an abrasive wheel. And then I got smart and I got a metal blade and it went through it much faster. But
Uh-huh.
we had these, you know, we had this enormous grinder cutoff wheel. And you know, the last time I did things, I just used a damn jigsaw with a metal blade and it fitted okay. Yeah, that's the giant. Yeah, yeah, that's what I have. But it just doesn't. There's you look up there, you know, there's a that little rod, you know, it just seems to me that it's just not steady enough.
Yeah,
Like it's like 3-inch tubing, isn't it?
Uh, 2.5 inch. I mean, it's really heavy, but it seemed to me that I was experiencing some movement.
Lost Mandy.
Yeah, that's the one that I have, and it's super light. That's the new one.
oh yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, so that's the one that looks like mine. And this one is actually foldable. It has these handles there,
Yeah,
but it really feels super rigid, and it's got a flat feet. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I would definitely trust that. I mean,
yeah,
that's one of the best things of my G11S. Really,
yeah.
it's incredible.
That's and that's what I have more or less.
The
Right.
Well,
older style.
that's actually this is different than mine. Mine did not have adjustable legs.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was just strictly,
Yeah.
and actually that is got a taller central section too than
Yeah.
mine does.
You know, it looks
But-
like a beast, but it's actually the one that I have, the foldable one, is
Yeah.
very easily transportable. It's all aluminum, so it's not that heavy, and it just fits easily in the trunk of my car. It's
Yeah, that meat is that meat's like about 40 pounds or so.
hmm. I didn't weigh it. Yeah, it could be 40 pounds. I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was easy to put to.
Oh, that blue one,
Yeah.
that's Lowe's Mandy's original mount, and I did a review on it for Astronomy magazine way back when. They-
You're talking about the one I've got there right there.
yeah, yeah. I met Scott at RTMC. He actually is related to some of the members that belong to the club, and he was there all the time in the beginning, you know. And so I told him I was writing articles for Astronomy magazine, and he loaned me that, and I did a review on it, and that was the only article Astronomy did not use it on.
Yeah. So have you seen the astrophysics portable pier? I see one here that's cost $770. It's pretty simple, but I've seen one when I was going to watch the solar eclipse. There was somebody from the East Bay astronomers.
Yeah,
So Tom, if you want to look it up, it's astro-physics.com/pp, and it looks very simple. And I've
Slash
when I saw that
TP.
now, yeah,
PP.
astro-physics.com/pp. Oh,
Oh, is it PP or TP?
pp.
PP.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
something like that.
Yeah,
That's pretty simple, and that's really a rock solid mount, at least when I saw it. And you can tighten it with those cables.
right.
That works really well. I mean, short of a real pier. And that's actually one that you can put in the car. I mean, you can, you know, I think those legs go inside the tube, so it's actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
And it's not super expensive. I mean, you know,
Well, I was trying to save some money
sure.
because I was starting being newly retired and then spending money on the observatory. And
Yeah.
before that, the tough shed. And so, yeah, that it looks like it just, it's under tension. And it's,
Yes, yes. Well, you could borrow that idea and see if you can, you know,
yeah.
change your.
Well, basically, keeping the bottom from flexing around, you know, if you take a look,
Hmm.
wait a second here. Um, right there, you know, putting it across there where I had before would 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 uh, would get me the rigidity. I mean, the rest of this is super rock solid.
So Mike,
that
you don't worry about kicking your legs on that thing and moving it?
I worry about hurting my feet if I do. I mean, this doesn't seem to move at all. But it but making it more solid, it could be that you know I do experience a little bit of vibrations, thinking it's seeing, but if I'm only touching the concrete with a little tiny point on a piece of steel pipe, I could be getting vibrations from anything. And so making that much more solid. And it could be as simple as uh, mounting them in a piece of wood, you know, uh, to distribute the load. You know,
Mhm.
wood's nice and solid. It has a tendency to dampen out vibrations. you know, but it's rigid. And I might try that first before I start cutting it off. But
Mhm.
I don't relish the fact that I'm going to have to take everything apart. I'm going to have to take the telescopes off, going to have to take off the mount.
Right.
I've got to unbolt. I, I, I got to unscrew all the boards, get the to get to where I could take the mount apart because I have to take off the legs because it's not going to fit through the door and uh, you know the pier itself probably weighs like 120 pounds. You know.
What do you think of these vibration suppression pads?
Actually, I have some of those. Maybe I should try them. I've got those samples.
Hmm.
But first, what I need to do is probably put the cross members to make it rigid. And it could be as simple as uh, I was thinking filling the gaps with plywood and bolting it to to the to the leg and the tube, maybe, um, or or the other thing where you take the, the true rod or whatever and bolt it into the pipe and then bolt it into the cross members. Maybe that's all I really need to do. If I get really thick, you know, like half inch, that should be very rigid. I mean, because if you look at the astrophysics, the the what they were using was not that thick. It was just enough to put it under tension.
Right. Yeah, maybe if you could just get some turnbuckles and make a
Yeah,
connection between the legs and the center
yeah,
post,
yeah.
maybe a little higher up than this astrophysics or something, but because your legs are curved. But
Actually, the turnbuckles would be actually for me. The turnbuckles would be between be from the bottom to the legs, because in this case here,
yeah,
uh, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
actually, the turnbuckles could be under less tension.
Well, okay, so I mean, force-wise, it probably makes sense to pull the legs out because the weight of the mount is also trying to push it down. If you know do the force the other way, then the turnbuckle is trying to push the legs to put the post up, and the mount is trying to push it down. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Anyway,
let's
either
see.
way,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
might work.
So you can see here that I have to take a bunch of stuff off and probably have to do it underneath these 2x4s and make sure that uh, yeah, it's going to take work. It's going to take the when these guys observatory will be out of commission for at least a month or so. Just
Mhm.
with the tools that I have. But it's
I like the
probably
turnbuckle idea because you've got some heavy pipe there. You can drill through, you can put some eye bolts through and
oh
turnbuckles in between the points,
yeah
and you can adjust the tension as you like.
yeah.
Well, if you don't want to remove those boards and you can't leave the turnbuckle the wires because they would be where would you put those
I could
wires?
remove I could remove the pipes here in situ. Okay, um,
Oh, okay.
I'll have to remove these because I won't be able to get it through the door. It's too wide
Hmm.
and it's too heavy. Just
Oh,
removing these three pipes probably reduces my weight by
oh.
about 50 pounds.
I was going to say, you know, if you drill a hole in each of these legs, just enough to put the hook of the turnbuckle in, and then
Yeah,
attach it to the top of the mount, then you don't have to worry with removing boards or whatever. It's all higher up. Anyway, just
but see, the thing is the way that astrophysics got their rigidity is the bottom part
yeah.
captivates the bottom end. Okay,
Mhm.
so you get a triangle. In this case here, the triangle is really nothing more than the rubber against the concrete and the legs against the
Yeah.
concrete, which is not um, that good of idea. So I
Yeah.
think I think what the deal is that I'm just going to have to go and cut off the bottom of those pipes so that they're pretty much level. And then uh, on the top of the mount, on the top of the mount, I have 3 rods, and if I need to boost the mount up a little bit, I'll just put it. I've got extra length of 3 rods. Hold a second. Where is it now?
Okay.
Let's see here. I'm sorry. One of these days, I'm going to go and organize my pictures as to the observatory. But, you know,
You
I'm
just need to
lazy.
get that. You just need to get that SolidWorks software that and fluid dynamics computations going on.
Uh, when you think about it, most of the telescope design was done with a slide rule and math and paper. You know, for most of the innovations. You know, very little. The only time that all this computer stuff helped was like computer modeling and oh yeah, simulation. You know. Well, I'm retired. I don't have time to go learn all this stuff.
All right. Well, maybe we've kicked the can down the road enough tonight. Maybe we should call it good
Yeah.
and come back next week and see what happens.
Okay. Nice talking to you guys. Thanks. You know, you helped me think through this thing, or that maybe I just need to make that bottom a little bit more rigid, and that might help me quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a great mount, so you need a good tripod also. Otherwise, you don't get the benefit of a mount, really, I think. So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Here's Adrian. We haven't seen for a long time. He's been with
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How,
So
hey,
who
Adrian,
else?
have you graduated yet?
Hey guys. No, I'm going into senior year. Last year.
Ah.
You have a senior project to work on?
I'm not so sure. Yeah, I don't know if I'll do the senior thesis.
Just a lot of classes.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, you're going to where? MIT or
Caltech, close.
Caltech? Close.
Closest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, senior theses aren't required, so yeah, I might just take extra classes and do some research on the side.
Very good. Very good.
Who
So
else
what's the best project you've been working on?
Oh, well, right now I'm doing some stuff on laser cooling.
Laser cooling.
Yeah, I was probably doing that last time we talked. But,
Can't remember.
now I actually get to go in the lab.
That's to lower the temperature to close to absolute zero, right?
Pretty close, yeah, like microkelvin, a few microkelvin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coldest
It's
stuff.
probably colder than what's in nature, you know.
Yeah, coldest in the universe, definitely.
Yeah, that might come in handy with the Breakthrough Starshot program. You could
That's
cool
right.
the lasers. That's wild speculation. All right, so Adrian, we're just going to be closing up here. We're just going to stop on short.
Sure.
You just caught us.
Adrian, thank you for continuing helping out with the club activities too, because you know I received a new newsletter from them. Is that right?
Oh, that's not me anymore. That's long passed over to someone else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Colin Taylor. He's our secretary treasurer. He does most of all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Tom Whittemore makes a newspaper, and then Colin puts it out.
Yeah. I'm going to be visiting Tom in September. As a matter of fact, I'm going down to LA to see my mom, and I'll be visiting Tom. Believe it or not.
Oh, great!
Yeah. I'll be going to Santa Barbara for one day.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
So, Adrian, are you at home right now?
I'm in Pasadena. We have a place here. Yeah.
When you say we, are you talking about a roommate or your dad?
Yeah, me and a few other undergrads. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice because we can actually go on campus now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
I mean, we had a 4th of July party, and it's like that Saturday Night Live skit where, everybody's meeting each other and they're trying to relearn how to operate in a crowd and be social.
Yeah, it is weird.
That's funny.
It's, I feel strange, talking to somebody in person, just like, it's,
Good for
we'll get you.
studying though. Good. Keep away from a bunch of people and you study. No drinking parties,
No.
Got to keep that down.
Well, I mean, everybody orders through Amazon. It goes to their room, okay, and they're all getting drunk on Zoom. Yeah.
That could happen. No driving. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No drink and drive.
Right.
All right. We're going to cancel this. We're going to call it good for tonight. Thanks for dropping in, Adrian.
No problem. Thank you,
And
guys.
please drop
Nice seeing you.
anytime,
Yeah, definitely. I'll try to remember. I always regret missing this.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.